Welcome to Coding Blind Tech. Hey, welcome back to Coding Blind Tech. It's Keith here again, and in today's video we're going to be looking at Chrome DevTools and how to read the console with a screen reader. So we'll be using NVDA screen reader. This is the third video in this series, so make sure you check out the introduction and then the first video where we look at the console and a couple commands. So in this video, again, we're going to be taking a look more in depth at the console. So right now on the screen, I'm going to read my title. So NVDA modifier key plus T is in Tango.
Welcome task manager left bracket WSL : Ubuntu right bracket visual.
All right, so we are in Visual Studio Code, and I have a basic React app up and running, very similar to the one I had in the first two video, or the first video on the console. So what I'm going to do here is we can open this up in the browser. So if I go to my terminal with Control Grov, the Grov is above the Shift key.
Terminal 1, npm use Alt.
All right, and I hit Alt F2 to get up to the accessibility view. So Alt plus F2.
Accessible view.
And then now I'm going to press Control plus End key.
Press H plus Enter.
And now I'm at the bottom of this output. So this is just the terminal output where I have the server running. I'm going to up arrow to get to the URL.
Network : local : http :
All right, so it says local : I'm going to copy this from HTTP. So
local : http.
All right, Shift End. And what I did there, I hit H to get to the beginning of the line, and then just controlled right arrow to move by word till I got to the beginning of HTTP, and now I'm going to just hold down Shift and press the End key.
http : localhost : 5173 / selected.
There we go, and you hear it selected. I'm going to press Control plus C to copy, and then I'm going to open up Brave.
Search window. New tab - Brave window.
All right, so over here I'm just going to paste it in. It's already in my URL, so Control plus V is in Victor.
http : localhost :
All right, so I hit enter on that.
Clickable graphic React logo.
All right, React logo. I'm going to read my title.
Task manager Brave.
Yep, Task Manager Brave. Okay, awesome. So now we have it open. Now, I left this as a basic React app because they have a button here. So I'm just going to press B for button. I'm at the top of the page, by the way.
Count is 0 button.
So count is 0. So if I press enter on this,
count is 1.
Count is 1. I'm going to hit enter again. You don't hear anything that time, but if I read my current line,
button count is 2.
Count is 2. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the console in Chrome DevTools. But before we do that, we need to have some stuff to read, right? So right now we can actually see what's already in our Dev Chrome tools. So we can press F12, or you can do Control Shift J as in Juliet.
DevTool console grouping. Console prompt edit has autocomplete multi-line blank. 1 messages in console.
Awesome. Okay, so as soon as it opened it up, now for me, I've had this open already. If you have not opened up Chrome DevTools before, it will most likely show you this. I'm going to hit escape to get out of the console, and then I'm going to hit escape again.
Drawer hidden.
All right, and I'm going to hit escape again because it actually was already showing it says drawer hidden, but I'm going to hit it again. I'm going to hit escape again.
Drawer shown.
Drawer shown. So it may very well just show you the main default introduction page, and then it'll have a drawer shown. Right now I'm not going to move around in that, but I just want to make sure you're aware of that. I'm going to hit escape to make sure that that's hidden.
Drawer hidden.
And you should hear it, drawer hidden. And so now, again, whenever I open this up, it automatically put my screen reader focus into the console input where you can start typing JavaScript. The way I got out of that was escape. You can also do browse mode. You can NVDA modifier key plus spacebar to get in and out of browse mode with NVDA screen reader. All right, so what we're going to look at is I'm going to go back down to the console. Now the way that I get there, if I'm not already there, is I press Control End to get to the bottom of the page.
Out of edit, out of grouping, drawer hidden.
All right, and then I press Shift E to go up an edit field.
Console panel property page console grouping clickable console prompt edit has autocomplete multi-line.
And there we go. So now we're back on the console to where we can type. Now I can press enter and that will put me into forms mode or browse mode and I can start typing in the console. That's not what we're going to do. I want to show you where the top is, right? Like where does the console start? Well, the easiest way to show you that is we can press Control L as in Lima to clear the console.
Console cleared. 0 messages in console.
You hear console cleared, 0 messages in console. So starting from the console input where I could type my commands, I'm going to press up arrow.
Out of edit space blank.
And then we hear out of edit and then space blank. If I hit up arrow again.
Toolbar no indent, 0 messages in console.
And then we hear toolbar no indent, 0 messages in console. Now this is the top of the console output, right? So if I come down to the console,
clickable console prompt,
which I just did by pressing E as an echo to get down to the edit field, I'm going to hit spacebar. That puts me into the actual console to where I can type. Now I'm just going to do a JavaScript variable name. So I'm going to type let space and then name space
name
equals space and then I'm going to do quote Keith quote.
Keith.
And then I'm going to hit enter. And when I hit enter there, what that does is that that saves it to memory. Now we have that variable in memory. And if I exit out of my console by hitting escape and I up arrow one time,
out of edit undefined,
you hear undefined. Now, let me tell you why this is. The reason why we hear undefined is because whenever we declare a variable like that, and then we give the variable a value, and then we hit enter, the console is looking for an output, and in this case, there is no output for establishing a variable, so it returns undefined. If I up arrow one more time,
clickable let name equals quote Keith quote.
Let name equals quote Keith quote. So we hear that clearly. That's the variable that we typed, and you could think of that like we're in a text document or VS Code and we've just written a line of code. So all right, so now if I hit up arrow again, because I want to show you again how you find the top, right? I'm gonna hit up arrow.
Toolbar 0 messages in console.
So you hear there 0 messages in console. So again, we're at the top. I'm gonna hit up arrow again.
Clickable toggle button not pressed console settings.
And then you hear toggle not pressed console settings. So that gives you an idea. We can change some console settings and we'll go deeper into that in the future.
Button to the issues tab.
And then the issues tab.
Button some problems no longer generate console.
And then there's a button. So it's just information above this. I very rarely go up and look at anything. I'm usually always looking at the console if I'm on the console tab inside of Chrome Tools or Chrome DevTools. All right. So, and I should also mention I'm in Brave, but Brave is just an ads-free version of Chromium engine. So it works very, very similar.
Button to the issues tab.
All right. So now we're going to clear this console. So remember, we do that with Control L.
Console cleared.
And you can do that from anywhere, and you don't need to be in browse mode or virtual PC cursor. Like that doesn't need to be turned on. You can do that from anywhere. All right, and I'm clearing the console because now I'm going to reload the page. And I reload the page with Control R.
Button some problems no log button to the issues tab 2 hidden.
All right, so we got 2 hidden in console.
Clickable toggle button not pressed 2 hidden button to the issues tab 2 hidden clickable toggle.
And I'll show you in a minute how we can see those.
0 messages in console.
Now we see that we're at the top of our console output.
Out of toolbar clickable link react dash.
And we don't have anything except for, let me let you listen.
Toolbar 0 out of toolbar clickable link react dash dom line client.js question v equals 52c 13102:14334 download the React DevTools for a better development.
All right, so we do have some output from React. Whenever we're in dev mode, it does let us know that we can download the Chrome developer tools that's specifically for React apps. And that is a great video to look at later on. And I'll have to show you that in the future.
Experience : link HT console prompt edit has auto.
All right, and so that's going to be the only thing in the terminal whenever we reload the page. Okay, so now if I go over to VS Code,
welcome dash
and we navigate to App.jsx, which is in our SRC folder, and that's going to be the main starting point of what you see on the screen. So I'm going to press Control P as in Papa.
List welcome.
And in here, this is where I can file search in VS Code. So I'm just going to type app.jsx, and then I'm going to hit enter because it's going to be the first one.
JSX. Blank. Welcome dash task.
All right, so, I might have been
main landmark
in the terminal. So when I'm in the terminal, that didn't work. So I'm going to hit Control P again.
Search files by name.
All right, and then in here, we're going to do app.jsx.
Search files by name left paren, append : to go to line or add to go to symbol right paren, list, app.jsx src, file results.
There we go. So I wanted you to hear that. It is the only one in the list. I'm going to hit enter.
Welcome dash task dash manager.
Okay, so
import left break, import.
This is just a basic React file.
Blank, function app left paren.
And they start you off with a function. Now, what are we looking for in here? We're looking for that button. We want to see that count. So I'm going to hit Control F.
1 of 1 found for.
And I'm going to look for
count. On no results found for equals.
No results.
On click equals left brace left.
It does find an on-click event.
App.js 8 space greater.
So I hit escape there to get out of the search, and now I'm going to down arrow.
10 space count is left brace count right brace.
All right, so it says count is left brace, right brace.
10 space count is left brace count right brace. Okay. 8 space less slash button greater.
And that is our button. So that is what we were looking for, and that's our button having an on-click event. I'm just going to up arrow.
10 space on click equals class name equals type equals quote button 8 space less button.
There we go. So now I'm at the top, the first line of where the button gets started. So from here, I'm going to down arrow
10 space type class name
to that count where we set that count variable.
On click equals left.
And it's not where we set it. It's just where we're spitting it out in the in that actual button, so it can be seen as the inner HTML.
8 space greater. 10 space count is left brace count right.
All right, so count is so what we want to do is every time this button is clicked, we're just going to console log the count, the number. Now I know we already see it on the actual page, but again, this is a very simple example in console logs, console.errors. So we can do that right here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the beginning of this line by pressing home.
Cap C.
And then I'm going to hit enter. That's going to move it down a line, and I'm going to up arrow.
Blank.
Now we are in React, so we do need to create the braces to be able to write JavaScript inside of the return function like this. So I'm going to hit shift left bracket to make the brace. And then I'm
count equals.
And then what I'm going to do in here is we're just going to type console.log, and then we're going to log out the count variable, and we're going to do that with grov, and then we're going to use the $ left brace to output that variable. All right, so what I'm going to do is console.log, and then left parenthesis, grov.
Count is $.
And I'm going to put count
is $ left brace count right brace grab right paren, comma.
All right, and you hear that the AI suggestion is trying to finish it for me, so I'm just going to hit tab. Now I'm going to read my current line.
Left brace console.log left paren, grab count is $ left brace count right brace grab right paren, right brace.
All right, and then you hear it there. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And now it's going to hot reload, which means that it just auto refreshes for me.
Task-manager-brave.
And if we come back over to this page, now remember we're inside of the console in DevTools right now, so I'm just going to press Shift F6.
Task-manager.
That's going to put me back on the web page. And then now, if I look at my button, so I'm going to go to the top of the page with Control Home.
Clickable.
and I'm gonna hit B for button.
Count is 0 button.
So it says count is 0 because that always it resets state when we refresh the page. So I'm gonna hit up arrow.
Edit src/app.jsx.
All right, and that's good news. We just wanted to make sure that where we put that in the code wasn't actually showing on the HTML. So now if we hit this count button, and remember we have the console open, and I'm going to hit F6 to get back over to it.
DevTools document.
And I'm going to hit Control L to clear the console.
Console cleared.
Okay, now we're going to press Shift F6 to get back to the page.
Task-man.
And we're going to
heading level 1.
Hit enter on this button.
Count is 0.
Count is 0. I'm going to hit enter.
Count is 1.
Count is 1. Okay, so now I'm going to F6 back over to the console.
DevTools document.
I'm going to go to the bottom of the page with Control End.
Out of edit out.
And then I'm going to hit Shift E.
Console panel.
That's going to put me at the edit field. I'm going to up arrow.
Out of edit link app.jsx:29 count is 1.
All right, and then you hear there. Now let me break this line down for you. So this is the console output from our app when we hit that button. But let me break that line down for you. So the first part.
Link. Out of link count. Link app.jsx:29 out of link.
So it says app.jsx:29. Now what that 29 represents, so it's file name, colon, and then line number, right? So it's the line number that that log was put out on. All right, so after the line number, we have our actual message. So I'm gonna read that line again.
Link app.jsx:29 count is 1.
All right, so you hear count is 1. Now I'm gonna Shift F6 back over
Task-man
to the page, and we're gonna hit this button again.
Edit S button count is 1.
I'm gonna hit enter on it. I'm gonna read my line.
Button count is 2.
Count is 2. We're gonna hit F6 to go back to Chrome Tools.
DevTools link app.jsx:29 count is 1.
All right, and if I hit down arrow, because the focus is still going to be on that line that we were looking at.
Link app.jsx:29 count is 2.
All right, and then you hear again that we're getting the same output, app.jsx: the line number, which is 29, and then the output is 2. Okay, so now let's say that this terminal gets really full, right? So if there's, hundreds of lines in the console output, how are you going to search? How are you going to find what you're looking for, right? So if you, when you write your log output, you know that you're looking for the, you know what you put in the log, you know what you wrote, or if it's an error, you can search error. So let's go back over to our app.jsx.
App.j 8 space 10 space left brace console.log.
And right here we have a console.log, but let's actually just console.error a message.
Line feed.
So I'm gonna go to the end of line with end, and then I hit enter to make a new line, and then I'm gonna do shift left bracket. So to make that brace, I'm gonna hit space, and then right here I'm just gonna console.error left
app.jsx,
and then I'm gonna do quote
error log for debugging quote right paren.
And then I'm gonna go ahead and let the AI suggestion finish that. It just said error logging for debugging. I'm gonna hit tab, and then I'm gonna read my current line.
Left brace console.error left paren quote error log for debugging quote right paren right brace.
All right, so you hear it there. I'm gonna save it, and then I'm gonna alt tab back
task
over.
dash manager task dash.
All right, so now we're back in our web browser, and I'm gonna shift F6.
Task dash manager document. Button count is edit SR. Button count is 2.
And I'm gonna hit enter on this again. And I'm gonna read my current line.
Button count is 3.
So now it says count is 3, and I'm gonna F6 back over to the console.
DevTools document.
I'm gonna hit E to get to the edit.
Console prompt edit.
And this is a great place to always be, because then you can just up arrow to get to the first line of the output.
Out of edit error log for debugging grouping clickable link app.jsx:30 error log for debugging.
All right, and then there you hear error log for debugging.
Error.
And then if I up arrow, it says error because it's signifying that that's an error log.
Out of grouping link app.jsx :29 count.
And then if I up arrow to where we just output the count.
Error log for debugging grouping clickable link app.jsx :
And I'm going to up arrow again.
Error.
And see, you hear error on the one that's an actual console.error, but you don't hear that for the one that's the console.log.
Out of grouping link app.jsx : 29 count. Error log for debugging grouping.
All right, so now from here, this is filled up as far as we've got quite a few messages in here. Now, how are we going to find something? Well, if it's showing in the actual console output, I think it's 10 or 20 lines that it'll show at a time. You could do your typical search that we can use with NVDA modifier key Control F. So that's NVDA modifier key plus Control plus F.
Find dialog. Type the text you wish to.
Right, and right here I can just type count.
Select.
And then hit enter.
Out of grouping count is 3.
And see, it finds the next version or next one in the lineup for that search. Another way is the filter. So if I go to the bottom of the page
out of grouping
with Control End, and then if I Shift E to find that console input,
console panel prop.
All right, this isn't our only edit field. I can Shift E again.
Toolbar filter edit has autocomplete multi.
And there's a filter right here. Now, what does this filter do? This filter breaks it down to where in the console you only see what the filter finds.
Toolbar.
So if I come in this filter and I type error,
four messages,
all lowercase. All right, and then I'm going to because it auto updates, so I cut it off there. Let me
error.
Control A to select this, and then I'm going to hit backspace to delete.
12 messages in console.
And then you hear 12 messages in console. Now I'm going to start typing.
4 messages in console. 4 messages in console.
I typed an E there. I'm going to do RR. OR. All right, so this means that it found 4 messages, so we didn't hear it change. If it would have been 0, it would have said 0. So I'm going to hit escape. I don't need to hit enter on this.
Out of edit clickable button clear.
All right, and I'm going to hit E, that way so I can get to the bottom of the output.
Clickable console prompt edit.
And remember, E just brings me to that console input. And if I up arrow one time, it's going to put me on the last line of the console output.
Out of edit space blank.
All right, so nothing there.
Error log for debugging grouping clickable link no indent app.jsx : 30 error log for debugging.
Yep, and then there's our first one, so we hear that. Now the question is, are we going to hear just the count log output? I'm going to up arrow one more time.
Error. Out of grouping error log for debugging group.
I up arrowed twice because remember, when it's a console.error, it's going to show the error above the actual output.
Error. Out of grouping error log for debug.
All right, I'm still up arrowing.
Error. Out of grouping error log for debugging grouping clickable link app.jsx.
Let me see.
Link app.jsx : 30 error log for debugging.
Nope, so
error.
Up arrow.
Out of grouping toolbar 4 messages in console.
All right, and then when we get right here, this is a sign that we're at the top of our console output. So that filter just found all the errors that we wanted to find. So, all right, so I think that about covers it for this video. If you have any questions, make sure you leave them in the comments below. If I missed anything, please make sure you let me know. I'm always happy to get feedback, especially around how I can better help you be a better blind developer. So, all right, well, I hope you enjoy your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.